Mm. So identity management. Today we are going to discuss the identity management, and in this module we will be talking about what is Azure Active Directory, what is the users and the groups in Azure Active Directory, and how actually the Azure Active Directory is a different from your on-prem Active Directory. We will be also creating a couple of users groups, and we will explore something called MFA, SSPR, and some more features about Azure Active Directory. Before we get into the Azure Active Directory, we have to understand the concept of on-prem Active Directory. Okay, so let's understand that part, and then side by side we will be doing the comparison also between the on-prem Active Directory and Azure Active Directory. Okay, so here we are right now. So first of all, before we get into the on-prem Active Directory, do you know the difference between work group and domain? That is also that we need to understand. What is work group? What is domain? Okay, no problem. That's what we are going to discuss. First of all, because this is the basic concept, so we should be brushing up this basic concept first of all. So this is called the virtual machine or the normal PC. Okay, normal PC. Now, a PC number one, say PC or system number one. Now we have a few machine. Okay, this used to be a case earlier, PC2, and then PC3, and PC4, and PC5. So these are the five, individual systems or the personal computer, what we have it. Now, if they want to communicate, this was the case almost 20 years ago. If they want to communicate, so we have to establish the connectivity between one PC to another one. Okay, this is how actually from here to here, and at the same time from here to here, and the same time from here to here, and from here to here, and here. So for each and every computer, we need to make a connectivity. Okay. And at the same time, we do not have any kind of central management. When I say the central management, by sitting at one place, you can control all the pieces. No, this was not the case earlier. And if suppose from the admin prospect, any admin wanted to, a system administrator want to control the behavior of the certain PCs or the client computer, that was also not possible. Okay. So this was the case for the something called work group. This is called the work group. To overcome this problem, what we have it here called domain. And when the domain introduced, instead of controlling and connecting to each and every PC, all the PCs will connect to one of the domain, or we say DC, domain controller or domain. Okay, for example, abc.com. So all the computer, instead of connecting to each other, they will be connecting only to this abc.com. Okay. Now, if we have this kind of arrangement, what happens is all the domain or all the computer which are connected here, PC 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, by sitting at one location, this is called the abc.com or the domain controller or directory services, all of these things. We can say that it was discovered almost 20 years ago again. Anti-directory and the domain controller came into the existence, and all of the computers can be controlled by sitting at one central location. System admin can control the behavior of these PCs, what to install, how to install, what sort of policy that need to be, you know, uh, executed across all the PCs. All of these can be easily controlled. Here we have a set of GPU, what software that need to be installed, what users can do it, what all the users activities, all of these things can be easily recorded, monitored by sitting at one place. That is called abc.com or say domain. Okay. So this was the invented long time ago, and ever since this is still there in a few organizations. We can see that in a hybrid environment, the domain controller, directory service, or Active Directory, on-prem Active Directory still exists. Okay, this was the case for domain. Okay. In the same context now, we also have something called on-prem Active Directory. Okay. Now, on-prem Active Directory is what? On-prem Active Directory is, this is your on-prem Active Directory, right? Now we will be going through something called difference between on-prem Active Directory and Azure AD. So this is your AD, on-prem Active Directory, on-prem AD, and this is your Azure Active Directory. Okay. So on-prem Active Directory, or we say sometimes we say directory service. The default authentication protocol, what they have it, is known as Kerberos, right? Kerberos is the default authentication protocol. What does it mean? It means like, whenever you supply, you must have observed or noticed whenever you connect to your system, to computer or to your organization, you will be prompting, you will have to supply the credentials, right? And these credentials will be checked again, the same account what is stored in your on-prem AD, right? So once you supply username and password, then only you should be able to log in. So behind the scene, your Kerberos is the authentication protocol, which will be identifying you this, yes, the right person has the right privileges to connect to this endpoint or this system, right? So Kerberos authentication is a protocol who actually manage authentication in on-prem AD, right? And we also have something called LDAP authentication, Kerberos authentication for this, and the default LDAP or LDAP connection is very much popular in on-prem. Here, what we have is called SAML or SAML authentication, like your SAML plus OpenAuth, OpenAuth. Okay, these are the default authentication protocol in Azure Active Directory. Okay, and here the maximum, your LDAP, instead of LDAP connection, Here, what we have maximum, like, uh, all these HTTPS sort of connections. Like it will be like web base, web session or web base. Okay. Here we have a kind of hierarchy structure, hierarchy or the tree structure. Okay. And here we have flat structure. Whereas a hierarchy, it means like, you here, if you have the domain, if you have the domain, something called this way, abc.com. Okay. So under that, you will be having some container like this. And then you will be having some more container users and groups. Then you will be having users and like, so this will be like one tree sort of structure. That is called hierarchy or the tree structures in on-prem AD. That's not the case in Azure Active Directory. It has the flat structure. Okay. Here, what we have, the bunches of GPO, group policy object. With the help of that, we can control the behavior of our endpoint, the user's behavior, deploying the patch, deploying some software, controlling how the users are, working. All of these things we can easily control by the GPU. Here in Azure AD, we do not have as such, no such GPU. And here we do not have something called pre-integrated SaaS application. Whereas here we have you will see 4,000 plus. Now I think it has increased 4,000 plus pre-integrated SaaS apps. Okay, 4,000 plus. Okay, there you just need to click some configuration here and there, and you're all set. Okay, and at the same time, here we do not have any kind of integration with something called SSPR, self-signed, password reset, MFA, and some more security mechanism like conditional access policies and all. And here you will see a series of conditional access policies, MFA policies, SSPR, and so on. Okay. So these are the high level difference between on-prem AD and Azure Active Directory. This is your on-prem, and Azure Active Directory can be found in your cloud. This is in cloud. This is your on-prem data center. Any doubt, any questions here? Till here? Okay, let's proceed. So now what we will be doing it, we will explore how do we create a couple of users in Azure AD, and how do we customize some domain if we want. Okay, so if you see that this is Azure Active Directory. a cloud-based suite of identity management capabilities that you enable you to securely manage access to Azure services, resources for your users. This is like your on-prem. You can always integrate your on-prem application with Windows Active Directory. And here you have some SAML authentication and this connect to your cloud apps. Okay. Some of the concept that we should be knowing: what is identity? Any object that can be authenticated. This could be user, groups, this could be service account, and so on. Account, an identity which has associated with the account. Azure AD account, identity through the Azure AD or another Microsoft Cloud Services. This is the tenant. For every user, or sorry, every Azure AD has some specific alphanumeric tenant ID that is called tenant ID. Okay. If you see that, this is our tenant ID. And by default, this is called Azure AD earlier. Now this has been changed to Microsoft Intra. Okay, the Azure AD has been renamed. Okay, guys, see here, it has been renamed. It's been almost 2 months or so. So do not get confused at Azure AD and Microsoft Intra. So Microsoft Intra is something Azure AD now. Okay. Microsoft Intra is Azure AD, and this is the tenant ID. This is the tenant ID which has the unique number. Okay. So this is how actually we should be verifying. Now users, groups, and all are the identities for the Microsoft Azure AD. Okay. Azure AD, Azure subscription, the used to pay your Azure cloud services. So this Azure subscription and your Azure AD tenant ID, one is subscription and one is a tenant ID. These are the two different IDs altogether. Okay. If I see here again, this is tenant ID. Okay. This is the tenant ID. And at the same time, I do have the subscription ID. This is Azure subscription ID. So both you can see these are the two different IDs, alphanumeric IDs. Okay. Comparison, we have already done the comparison, but just quick recap. Azure AD is primarily for the identity solution and designed for HTTP and HTTPS communication. Okay. It queries on the REST API over HTTP and HTTPS instead of LDAP. LDAP is not being used in in Azure AD. Okay. ADDS, or sometimes we say on-prem Active Directory, directory services. AD stand for Active Directory Domain Service. Use HTTP and HTTPS protocol, SAML, Federation, Open ID connection for authentication instead of Kerberos. Federation services for any federation, we can do it with any sort of domain: Facebook, LinkedIn, Insta. I mean, these are the social networking sites, but at the same time, we can have some applications which are useful for the organization prospect. And we already spoke about Azure AD is created in flat structure. Now, when it comes to additions, Azure AD has a different additions altogether. Okay, let me take you to this page because there's a high chances something had changed. In all the documentation, it has been changed to Microsoft Intra. So always remember Microsoft Intra and Azure AD, both are the same thing, guys. It has been renamed, rebranded recently. Yeah, you can see that. Okay. So Azure AD, again, they are specifying somewhere in the Azure AD. Azure AD free here. Okay. Now, here you will be having three things. You have something called Azure AD free subscription, free editions, then P2 and P1. Okay. So these are and governance for a different set of people. But usually you will be comparing with the free and then Azure AD P1 license and Azure AD P2 license. Okay. Azure AD, as you can see, P1 license, which is intra P1 is available as a standalone or E3 license. Okay, the pricing and all that you can see, but moreover, what we are looking for is this thing. In free edition of Azure AD, which is like free tier, what we have it, what all the capabilities that you're going to get it. Cloud authentication, pass-through authentication, password hash synchronization. It is very much available across all the editions of Azure AD or Microsoft Intra, which is free tier, P1 tier, and P2 tier. Okay. Then federation authentication, active-to-active federation services for federation with other identity provider. These are also available across all, SSO across all. Now in the free tier, group assignment is not there. Cloud app discovery is not there. Secure hybrid partnership is there. Service level agreement is not there. And in P1, P2 is there. Administration and hybrid identities. These are the role-based control, which is there across all the editions. Users and group is something again present across all the editions. And the sync ADs with intra using the cloud sync or connect sync available. Now, end user services. So they have compared in each and every services, using administrative and hybrid identities, and user self-services, whether they can launch their application under myapps.microsoft.com. Okay, self-service account management, yes. Password for the cloud users, yes. Password reset, change, unlock with on-prem right back, which is not available in this. Anyone knows or anyone, utilize this self-service password reset in your organization? Have you ever utilized this service, SSPR? No? Okay. So actually it depends on the organization. For example, earlier, how it used to be, in case you are using on-prem Active Directory, I mean, normally it is the case for your cloud. When you are into the hybrid environment, when you have the on-prem AD, you do have the something called Azure AD. Okay. And people are using on-prem credentials to access the Azure AD resources. They are using SaaS-based application. They are using Outlook, Teams, SharePoint, Yammer, and so on. At the same time, they are also accessing their on-prem servers. Okay, so it is a part of essential services under the self-service password reset that they can change this by supplying the username or supplying the email address and the password. If administrator has configured the SSPR at the tenant level, what would be advantages? In the earlier case, you need to connect to the help desk team and ask them to change the password if you forget, or your password is expired and you have not changed it, again, you will be locked. So you used to connect to your help desk team and used to supply some sort of initial verification, and post that your account will be reset. This was the case. So there was so manual intervention needed. Now it is completely seamless approach, seamless process. You do not need to connect to anyone. Instead, you should be able to reset the password by yourself. Okay. So in our organization, yes, it is configured. So I'll just let you know how SSPR link. This is what it has as password reset. Okay. So here you just need to type your email address or the username and this your captcha, click next. And then the moment you get, you supply it, old password, new password, you can change it. So this is a very cool feature of Azure AD. Okay. So that's what, when we do the comparison here, SSPR, it's possible in P1 and P2 license. Under the free tier, no, it's not available. Then the group management, again, we can manage under P1, P2 license, self-service entitlement management access, which is only possible in P2 license. Now, multi-factor authentication and conditional access policy, they can access across all. Conditional access policy, free tier, it is not there, but in P1 and P2, it's there. Passwordless authentication. Okay. Have anyone experienced passwordless authentication in your organization? We'll talk about this multi-factor authentication, passwordless authentication in a moment.
Means you will get a call to your mobile like that.
No. That is a call-based authentication. Passwordless authentication, it means that you do not need to remember the password. You will be getting a kind of, if you have the Authenticator app, installed Microsoft Authenticator app,
Right.
right? Uh,
Yeah.
are you guys using it?
Yes. We have to install in our own mobile, personal mobile. So, I doesn't want to install those in my personal mobile. So I use more email for that authentication.
Yeah. So normally in our organization, we have forced everyone to use the passwordless authentication. So we
Okay.
disable the call base and Windows call base and OTP based authentication. So only one way is to passwordless because of the security reason and strong authentication approach.
Ajay, I will join back. I have a meeting now again.
Sure, no problem. Okay, no worries.
Thank you. Sorry.
So conditional access policy, again, your conditional access policy is not available in pre-tier account, but it is there in P1 and P2. Similarly, session life management. So some sort of advanced features you will see in P1 and P2, which you cannot access here. Identity protection only possible under risk-based conditional access policy, sign-in risk user risk in P2 license, authentication context in P2 license, token protections, vulnerabilities and risk account only in P2. So these are the different, differences among all the additions in Azure AD. Okay, now let's go ahead and now connect to this. Let's try to create a couple of users in the portal. So I'm here again. I'll go to the Azure AD. This is the interface for Azure AD or Intra ID. That's what we say. And here is the all the stuff that we can do it. Now, one of these is like custom domain. Of course, by default, as you can see here, this is my domain name. Okay. Of, so this is like a free tier account, and that is why it is available now. And of course, any user which any user which you are going to create in this tenant has the suffice something called this Arvind Swami Outlook dot on Microsoft.com, which obviously you do not want when you deal with your real-time users or in the real-time scenario. So say if you have some domain, legit domain that you will be giving here, and then this domain name has to be registered under your GoDaddy or somewhere, and then you should be configuring it. After configuring, you should be able to get your domain name. Okay, you should be able to get the domain name, and after getting the domain name, your email address will have a suffix, something called agcloud.net, your microsoft.com, gmail.com, something, some legit address, you will get it. So the process is, first of all, you need to go and register the custom domain in GoDaddy or any other uh, third-party website, purchase the domain and configure it. Since we do not have as such anything, so by default, all the user will get this kind of suffix. So let's see that how do we create the users. This is the interface. The moment you click on user, these are the different existing users what I have it. I'll just remove a couple of them. Okay, so I delete it. So I'll click on new user here. So first thing first, user principal name. Okay, you can't change this for now because you do not have any custom domain. So by default, any username you type here will have the UPN, something called at this free tier account. Okay, so I say rk hyphen rk dot pk. Okay, rk dot pk. So this is going to be one of the principal name. Okay, and here is something you can give this and password. See here, it is auto-generated password. You can copy this password and keep it in Notepad. Okay, and enable this account. Click on next, assignment. Next is nothing, you just review and create. Okay, so I can see that user now here. This is the user, Rajesh dot K, but the login name is UPN is something this one. Okay, so now if I want to connect to this account, okay, I want to connect to this account. So how do I connect it? I'll have to copy this UPN and need to go to here and click on incognito again and say I want to connect to portal.azure.com. It's already connecting to this. Let me open different browser, Edge, and here I'll say portal.azure.com. This is another account. This is the account which I created. Click next. And the password. The password is this one. The moment I supply the password, it will ask me to change. Okay, current password is, a new password is, I'm giving anything. And click next. So I'm able to log in. So if I go here under intra, and I see the user, see these many users are there already. Okay, and I logged in with this, right? Now, if I want to create a new user, assume that, okay, being a user, if I want to create a new user, so this is like grayed out for me. I can't create it because I don't have the permission, right? So suppose you want to empower the user administrative rights to this user so that this user or admin or junior admin can create a new user for this tenant. So how do you do it? So here what we have, this one, I logged in as a this account, and if I go to the roles, here we have something called role, assign role. Okay. Now, uh, the highest privileges role, see here, we have a plenty of roles and features. Accordingly, we can decide and grant it. Now, these are the predefined directory roles, we say. Okay. Predefined directory roles. Now you can see starting from application administrator, and here is the description. What application administrator can do it, what all application developer can do it, okay, what all the authentication administrator can do it, then billing administrator, what all it can do, compliance administrator, conditional access policy, exchange, so all sort of directory roles are available. So say if I just want to give the user to create the users, delete the users, okay, and create some sort of group. So we have something called user administrative. This one can manage all aspect of the users and group, including resetting password or limited admin. So if I just grant this permission to this user, so he should be able to, it will take time, but he should be able to create a new user account. Okay, so if I'm coming here, it is, if I logged in with the user account, which is rk.pk, okay, refresh it again, refresh the entire page. And now if I try to connect or create new user, see, I'm able to create. Okay, this is great enable for me, and I should be able to create it. So this is how actually you will be delegating the permission to anyone, any of your junior or junior admin or workers, you will be granting the permission this one. Questions, guys? Okay, no question, we can proceed further. Okay, so this is how actually we create user group, or sorry, user only. Now at the same time, if I go back to my admin, so this is like how many kind of roles we have it. We have a plenty of roles, and the highest privileges is called global admin. Okay, global admin is the highest privilege account. Now, in the same manner, if I come here under you home users, now say you got a requirement where you need to create multiple users, a bulk user, right? So how do you perform that? So here we have option here called bulk operations. So very first thing you will be hitting on bulk creation. Okay. The moment you click on bulk creation, download this CSV file. Okay. And I'll say download. Here it is. I'll open this file and this is my Excel sheet where what all the Excel sheet predefined parameters. So you see that in this template, first one is version v 1.0. So we'll not change this. Okay, this will remain as it is. Wherever you see the required parameter, it means it is a mandatory parameter. We can't leave it blank. But rest of other things, the first name, last name, it is not mandatory. So we will least bother about it because this can be changed post creation of the user account as well. So now if I want to give that, the name, they have given the example only how we should be giving the name. So say I just want to copy as it is this password and let's create 4 5 accounts. Okay. So let's say that I have Rob Peterson and I'll say username. It is going to be UPN Rob.Peterson. Now, what is the domain that I should be giving it? Because for my tenant, this is the domain ID. Remember? What is the domain ID? This is the domain ID. So I should be giving anything which is, this is called the domain ID. Okay. Because I don't have any other custom domain. What Microsoft has given to me, that is only the domain I have. If I have any kind of custom domain, I could have given the same. So it is going to be this is going to be my UPN. Okay. Now similarly, Lakshmi K and this is going to be my another user. And then I can say and here Dina.m then another user and I'll say okay. So say I've created these many. So just this one is something that they've given an example. So I'll be removing this example. I don't want this. And these many users. So how many users? 5 users we have created. I'll remove the last column. So the initial password for this 5 user will be this. Okay. And the blocking sign in is no. Fine. So this is the simple CSV file that we have built. So now if I want to save this, I have to save this file as a CSV file. Okay. So I'll save it as on the desktop user creation. One.csv. Okay. It has to be CSV file, and I'll save this file, save again, and finish. Okay. Now coming to user again, we'll go to default directory, bulk operations, and hit on create. At this time, first option is done. So we have done the edit also. Now we need to just upload it. So uploading is here. This is what I'm uploading, and all the parameters are correct. That's what we saw, that message, file uploaded successfully. If any of the parameter is missing, then it will throw some error message. Click on submit. And it's done. It will take a few seconds here to refresh, yeah, to refresh those users. So see now, we can see those users now, right? This is how actually we create the bulk operations. Now tell me guys, on the real-time scenario, okay? How do you think and what do you think that is this the right way of creating the users, or in a mid to enterprise level of organization, how do they manage onboarding? Suppose you are joining a company. What is your take? What would be your point of connect, and how the overall system work? Is this a something that what we have done it? Is this the way that we create the users, or some other things will come into the picture? What is your take?
A single sign-on uh, uh, to access every application
Yeah, the
once
single
we.
sign-on will definitely come RK, but not now, right? Say I'm saying initial onboarding. When you join any company,
Hmm,
your accounts will be created, right?
right.
So we are talking in that prospect. To whom you will interact, how it will be created in the backend, and what would be your role as a Azure administrator. It's a kind of real-time scenario, that use case you can say we need to understand. So what do you think, guys? Any thought, anything? Okay. So normally a first point of connect for you for any organization when you join it, you will not connect to your system admin, right? You will be having a team, recruitment team or the HR team to whom you will be connecting, and the HR team will in turn will give you a credentials to log into the system portal and all. So the
Mm.
first point of connect will be your recruitment team or the HR team. Now, all the mid-sized companies, along with the enterprise, they use something called HRMS tool. Okay, HRMS tool will come into the picture first of all, and that would be the point of connect. That would be the first point of connect. For example, the moment you join to any company, it is the recruitment team or HR team's responsibility to incorporate all of your data into the system. According to your Aadhaar card, your name should be there. Of course, PAN card, or your identity proof, then address proof, then your account number. If you join the company, then they will be giving you the facility either to continue with the existing account, your bank account details, or if you do not have, then they will assist you to get the new account open, right? All of these things will be there in their HRMS tool. There you will be having allocated project, your manager to whom you should be connecting, leave management, your appraisal cycle, everything will be there. So that is called HRMS tool. These set of HRMS tool will in turn connect to the system, either on-prem Active Directory or Azure AD. Okay. So the first point of connect will be your HRMS tool. And across the organization, there are so many HRMS tools are being used. One such one such HRMS tool is known as HR Workways. You must have heard about your payslip, and then allsec technology also they provide this HRMS tool. Darwin Box, Success Factor from SAP. These are the HRMS tool. So if you see that top HRMS tool, then HRMS. So here you can see the Bamboo HR, GenFit, SAP SuccessFactor, Juho, Paycard, Workday. These are the what HRMS tool. Okay. In our company, we are using something called Darwin Box. Okay, we were using this SuccessFactor earlier. Now we are using Darwin Box. These are the first point of connect. So every sort of information will be first incorporated in this HRMS tool. Okay. From here, the data will sync to your on-prem AD, so Azure AD anywhere. Okay. So we will not be responsible as an administrative. No, we should not be responsible. Yes, in small companies like 100 to 10, you might have to create the user the way you have created, but it is not very much true for the mid or large level of or enterprise level of organization. Okay. Now the self-service password, this is what actually self-service password is. Here I'm not be able to showcase practically because we do not have the license, but what we have to enable it. And what is the SSPR? SSPR is nothing but a kind of self-service password deployment. So key capabilities, these are the capabilities, what all the SSPR can do. And user to reset the password or non-expired password without connecting to any admin or help desk. Okay, this is the technology which will help the user to connect. This is how to enable it. This is how actually we should be enabling. Here it is. So for the moment, if I go here, it will be disabled for me. Okay, browse to. So if I go here and here, Okay, if I go to protection here, password reset, self-service password, allow you to manage. So we need to have the P1 license at least. P1 license to reset the password. I mean to set up this provision, self-service password reset for all of our users. Okay. Then user and group, we already seen that how to create the users. Okay. In the similar manner, we should be able to create the group also. So here, if you see that here under the users and sorry, under the group, you have a group that need to be created. A group is nothing but the same set of users who are connecting to one of or they're belonging to same team so that you can manage them efficiently. Like finance team, IT team, sales team, marketing team, or any other project team, you can create a group. And you can also assign one owner for that group so that only group can connect or owner of that group can modify the membership. All right, guys. So this is a group. This is the way that we should be creating it. So here we have a security or M365 group. M365 group, the scope of this M365 group is little broader. When I say the broader in sense, this is actually when you create the M365 group, you will be leveraging not only one product, but multiple products. When you go for creating M365 group, it create a teams as well. It create a SharePoint site in the backend. So 365 group is more collaborated group, whereas the security group is like your ACL part will be managed here. It's like for controlling. For example, you just wanted to grant a certain access to finance team only. Then you will be granting something or creating a security group rather than creating the M365 group. So for example, security. So if I say this is for IT team, the group and all, and here is the members. So here you should be able to add some members. So these many members are there. So I can add it. Owner you can select right now or later on also. Create it. Okay. So I can see that security group IT-team is created. A similar manner, you should also be able to create something called dynamic distribution group. A dynamic distribution group is what? Say, it's like if you created the way we have created IT team, you do not have to create for any other user. You will be creating a kind of criteria, okay, where we will be defining that, okay, if the user department is belonging to IT, so by default, he or she should be part of the IT team, you know, and should be this location. Or if user is joining to this project, he should be by default part of this group. We do not have to add it manually. And when the user is leaving the company, he should be able to remove it from that group automatically. So there will be a less overhead for the administrator. That is called dynamic distribution group. Then we have something called MFA, guys, and conditional access policy. So MFA, as we already discussed, in a foundation class, MFA is nothing but is a kind of multi-factor authentication. MFA stands for multi-factor authentication. And how does it work? Something you possess, something you have it, and something you are. Okay, this is how the concept of MFA. It means you must have experienced OTP whenever you do any kind of banking transactions. Other than the username and password, you will be prompted for giving the OTP. A similar manner, we are using here something called MFA. Now, under the MFA, we have two options to enable the call-based authentication. In fact, three options: call-based authentication, token-based authentication, and application-based authentication. Let me show you. I think it will be grayed out for us because we don't have the license, but still we should be able to see something. So if you see under the security, we have something called multi-factor authentication. Okay. So this multi-factor authentication, we need to have the P1 or P2 license at least. So here it is what actually enhance the security of your data and application, reduce the organization risk, and help to enable regulatory compliance by providing the extra layer of security. Why to use authentication? Secure application and data, simple to use. Choose from the call, text, or mobile app during the registration, and user can change their method anytime. Okay, this is like a multi-factor authentication. There is a one more concept what we have it is called conditional access policies. Okay, now conditional access policies is what it is like. It work on if and else. Conditional access policy is kind of premium feature for Azure AD. Okay, which actually work on the zero trust concept. Zero trust concept is what it says that you explicitly check every sort of access. Do not just assume that okay, this user is working from home or this user is working from office, so the office one is more secure than office than a home. So here what we have the conditional access policy. Conditional access policy is what it works on the zero trust policy enforcement. So these are the identities and the threat intelligence and telemetry, and these are the application. So what are the common decision? Block access, grant access, require multi-factor authentication, require authentication strength, require password change, require term of use. So for example, you figure it out or your system notify to you stating that okay, your VIP user or your CIO or your CISO had changed the password recently. Okay, but CISO claimed that no, they have not changed the password. So in that case, what there could be, you find and figure it out. This could be some suspicious activities. So you can ask, you can create the policy where the user can change the password instantly in case of any sort of trigger happen. So commonly applied policies is this: require multi-factor authentication for the user with administrative roles. So if you're going to enable MFA for the admin, so you can enable it by enabling this conditional access policy. Blocking risky sign-in behavior. This is also, you can say that. Require organization manage service for the specific application. For example, certain organization, they do not want a company or personal laptop to be able to connect with your company registration ID. They do not entertain. So with the help of CA policy, we can restrict that. We can restrict, suppose blocking the granting access from the specific location. For example, if your company does not have any business in Ukraine, Russia, Italy, or any other, um, Gulf countries, you can block the access just to reduce any sort of surface risk factor for your organization. Okay, so these are the common use case for the conditional access policy, and this is your administrative experience. Now you see that licensing, we need to have at least P1 license, and that is the reason we are not able to do. So here it is, it works on the zero trust. This zero trust says verify explicitly for anything, use the least privileges, and assume the breach. So the scope of this conditional access policy is broader. Okay. The last part of the Azure AD is called managing multiple directory. It means what? One Azure AD can have a multiple subscription, and one Azure AD can serve multiple subscription. Okay. So for example, abc.com in one of the diagram when we draw it today. Okay, no, it's not there. So one Azure AD, Azure AD also have some tenant ID, some alphanumeric number. At the same time, subscription ID also have some number, right? So these numbers can be differ from each other, right? Now, one Azure AD can serve multiple subscription. So if you have a 2 or 3 subscription and you want to use one Azure AD, you are quite welcome. Or else any subscription will have a independent Azure AD count. So that's about the Azure AD. And now let me explore and tell you one more thing, something called here we have a enterprise application. For example, I want to register one application. So it should be here, app registrations or enterprise applications. Now say here by default, these applications you can see with the Microsoft Azure, with this account, you can create a multiple integration, and this will be a part of your SSO or single sign-on. For example, in your company, you are using Google platform, okay, or Oracle database or SAP something, and you want to leverage all of your user to be able to access this application without giving the password again and again. So that is something that we should be able to do it. And this is also say SSO integration. Now, if you see that these are the plenty of applications what we have it. Adobe, Cisco Connect, your load balancer, Palo Alto, Service, JAP. And from here, you should be able to change the category. So for say, if I'm saying finance or health, human, IT. So you give me the data only for this. Okay. So for example, 99jobs.com, Active Directory, SSO for double, active and thriving, Adobe, ADP, Airbase, AirWatch. These are the applications which are already integrated. So for example, if I want to set up something on, say, this software, okay, so how do I do it? What all I need to do? Step-by-step instructions. For example, this is what I need to do with NetMotion mobility, So here, what I need to do on the Azure AD end or intra admin end. These are the steps that I need to do. And then I need to perform the SAML base authentication. And then again, I need to create this. I need to create something called metadata and then need to share with the different team. Okay. And these are the things like on the application end, NetMotion team will do it. And then you can verify it. So step-by-step guide, mostly you will find it for all the applications in order to set up the single sign-on. Questions, guys? Okay, fair enough. So we'll do one thing, guys. We'll choose another topic which is called storage account. We'll just take 10 minutes break. It is 8:50 a.m. We'll reassemble at 9 a.m. and then we'll connect and start a new topic called storage. I hope it is fine for everyone. I'll initiate the timer. 10 minutes timer. Okay, and start it. Hey guys, everyone back? Guys, is everyone back? Am I audible, guys? Okay, okay, fine. Let's start it. Now we will be talking about something called storage account. Okay, so let me. So in this module, we are going to discuss the storage account, how many types of storage we have it, how to create the different storage account, and what is the Azure file and file sync, storage security, storage explorer, and so on. For this, we need to have one Azure AD, one virtual machine. Let's deploy that part also. I'll connect to portal.azure.com. Yeah, this is called the passwordless authentication, guys. If you're not aware, you can configure on your local system as well. Let me improve it. Okay, so here it is. Let's create one virtual machine. Here in the name, you can give any name, client PC something, and I'm not going to use anything. Great. Okay, so once it's come to your storage account, what is storage account? A service which can use to store files, message, tables, and other sort of information. Okay, so we will be storing our files, data, any sort of data. On a high level, there are two kind of data. Okay, one is called structured data, one is called unstructured data. Anyone has any knowledge or the information what is structured data, what is unstructured data?
I heard it, but I couldn't recollect it.
Mm-hmm. Give it a try. Okay. What is structured data? What is unstructured data? This is called, and here what we have is unstructured data. Okay, structured data, unstructured data. What is what is the difference between these two? So when we talk about unstructured data, it will be in the form of, say, if this is your information or the source of information or the data, it will be in the form of somewhere it will be lying here. Here, it will be in regular way, or there's no sequence as such. Randomly, it will be lying here and there. Okay, like this. All right. So there's no sequence here. An example of unstructured data is like, storing any kind of MP3 file, MP4 files, or say you're copying some VST file or your any data on your USB drive. These are unstructured data examples. Structured data is something which has some sort of sequence. For example, here you will be having something called this way, and one, yeah, and then yeah, okay, then this way. So you see that there is some sort of row and columns, and the data will be stored somewhere here. It could be here, it could be here, it could be here, it could be here. So while retrieving the data, it will be in a sequence, and we can easily get it, through the query or something. Such data type, what we have is any SQL, MySQL, SQL, your Oracle database, your Cosmos DB, and so on. So the storage account is also being used to store the structured and unstructured data both. Okay. It has the two tiers, SDD and SSD, and also there is something called ultra premium disk. So these are the three tiers in a whole Azure storage. Now, Azure storage services. Under the Azure storage services, these are the different sub-container. When I say the sub-container, it means when you talk about Azure storage, it is a storage. Under that, you have a container, you have the file share, you have the tables, you have the queues. So Azure Container is a scalable object storage for text and binary, a file for your cloud and on-prem deployment, tables for your NoSQL storage for storage of storage of structured data, and queue for messaging this, any sort of queues that you will be creating it. So Azure Storage Services is what? It is a container. Under that, you have a subcomponent like this: container, file share, tables, and queues. Okay. Now, storage account kinds. What all the storage accounts kind we have it? So we have a blob storage. And then we have a supported services like blob storage, append blob, supported tiers, what we have standard, then general purpose one and general purpose two, which are a kind of categorized into two different tiers, standard and premium. And on the right hand side, what you can see is a kind of replication topology that we are going to discuss in a while. Replication topology ensure that how many copies of one data can be across the region, across the location, across the different geo. And finally, what we have the file storage, where we can store the files, premium files, and we can store LRS, ZRS, everything. Okay. So let's understand the replication strategy. Okay. First one is LRS. LRS is what data is replicated 3 times within a single facility in a single region. Okay, what does it mean? If you see that you have one data center, right? Microsoft data center. When I say LRS, LRS is actually synchronize or replicate the data to 3 disks within a data center in a primary region. If I say this is my location, this is one of the location under a kind of, this is like sorry, data center. Say this is my DC1, data center one. So under that data center one, it synchronize replicated data to 3 disks. Inside the data center only, data will be there, but in a 3 different facilities, probably in rack number 1, 2, 3, something like that. Okay. So that is, so data will be there under one data center. Okay. Under data center also 3 different facilities, 3 different rack or the servers data will be there. So that is called local redundant storage. We say LRS. If the data is there inside the data center in a 3 different rack or facilities, it is called local redundant LRS. Local redundant storage, or we say LRS. Here, inside 3 times inside the data center somewhere. 3 copies by default, right? Okay. Inside single facility in a single region. Okay. Now, what happens is your data center got failed. Okay. So we have something called Azure availability zone, something called primary region. You have something called ZRS, zone redundant storage. Here, the replicated data will be there among 3 different Azure availability zone. So if you recall, if there is any problem with one data center here, so anything stored or have here will not be able to retrieve it. So to overcome this, we use something called ZRS. Okay, a ZRS is nothing but your zone redundant storage, okay, which synchronize or replicate data in a two or different data center using the Azure availability zone. If you recall Azure availability zone, data will be, it will be in this manner. Like you will be having one data center failure, it will be like this. Okay, so here you have a one data center, here you will be having another data center under availability zone. Okay, so if this is my availability zone, you will be having data center here, data center 1, data center 2, and data center 3. Okay, so if anything goes wrong with one of the data center, other two data center, we can retrieve the information that is at the availability zone, and it is part of your one of the region. Okay, one of the region, which could be East US, Central US, Central India, South Central India. That is. Then we also have something called, so a first time here, in order to save the copy or to provide the high availability, if anything goes wrong with my data center, I can always rely on availability zone. But in case your availability zone, if you recall, it is a part of one region. Okay, say Central India. Now, if anything goes wrong with the Central India, I should not be able to access any of these copies. And to overcome this, we have a geo-redundant storage, which is geo-redundant storage. Data is replicated 3 times with the primary region and replicated 3 times to region pair. So for example, there is a region pair for Central India to South India. So 3 copies again, this will be just like a copy paste to another region, which is going to be a paired region for Central India. And in this case, it is going to be, say, my South India. So anything goes wrong here this time on Central India, my data is still available in South India. Okay, our 3 copies will be replicated. That is called geo-redundant storage. Okay, so these are the 3 replication topology. Rest of other things like a read-only. So just like a read-only, there would not be any kind of write copies. And then last one is geo zone redundant. Data is replicated 3 availability zone and replicated to paired region. This is also another advanced form of, or you can say ZRS plus GRS is something called GZRS, geo zone redundant. So here the concept availability zone and paired region both are merged together. So these are the replication topology, what all that we use it in storage account. Any questions, any doubt, guys, here? Okay, no, then let's go ahead and create some storage account and see how actually it looked like in a real time. Here we have created one machine, that's fine. Let's go and create one storage account. So here, storage account, I'm going to create a new storage account and I'll say my dev 0090. And these are the 2 different performance, standard, premium. Okay, these are the different redundancy. I can choose local, it's fine. Next is, these are the different security parameter that whether you want to enable, you want to disable. Okay, so you can check box, you have to just enable it. Next is networking. This is like utmost important here to understand. If you enable it to public access, so it means all the users can access this storage account from the public network. Okay, you enable the public access from the selected virtual network and IP address. That time you will be configuring, or you will be just selecting only the specific virtual network or IP addresses. Here is the network that, okay, only from this virtual network, people should be able to connect to my storage account. The last one is, I do not want to enable the public access at all for my storage account. Rather, I'll be creating a private endpoint. And from there, only a certain system or set of users should be able to access my storage account. Okay, but for us, we need to have the public for now. So we'll be going ahead. And these are the recovery point, what we have it, retention policy, what we say. So how long you delete, whenever you delete the data, how long it will be there in the system. So these are the by default 7 days. You can change it to 14 days, 13 days, 30 days, 90 days, like that. Next is encryption. Encryption, Microsoft, Leave create it. Okay, so deployment gets completed here. Now let's go and explore it. Okay, so these are the data stories. This is what I was talking here. So under this is one container. Under this container, you will be having under this you can say you have a container, you have the file share, you have the queue and tables. So here you can store the data. For example, if I want to store anything, first of all, I need to create a container. So let me create a container. You can say my IT data. Okay. And how do you want to give the access? Anonymous access means anyone can access it. Okay. If I just keep it container and create it. So I've created. Now under this, I can just go and upload some sort of data. So this upload is just like drag and drop, or you can browse and give the file name. So say if I just want to give this file user, and then we can say app registrations, 2 or 3 files, upload it. I uploaded. Okay. Now I want to access, see how actually I can access it. If I try to copy and this URL and just open it in the public interface. So see, I am able to see the file. The file has been here. in Excel sheet. If I go back and try to open this file as well, all our Excel sheet, so the file will get downloaded automatically. See, it is getting downloaded. It means the data is quite accessible for me. But at the same time, the moment I come here and change the access level from to private, click OK. So now if I try to open, refresh it, any file, copy it and open again. So this specific because so and so reason, because I changed the access level. So as long as your access level is public, you should be able to access anything. But the moment you're putting any restrictions, you will not be able to access from your public internet or public interface. Okay. Like that, you can create a couple of more container. If you recall, this is the way that we had created while deploying the extensions. Now, the second type of storage what we have is file share. Now, how do we connect to this file share and what is the maximum limit? So maximum capacity of this file share is 5 terabyte. Okay. So for example, what is and where we use this file share? A file share is nothing but a kind of storage where you will be dealing with SMB protocol. Okay. And SMB protocol, you should be able to access this file share. So for instance, let me create one file share. Here I'll be saying that, okay, it has some HR data. Now, transition optimize hot and cool, whichever you feel you can enable this here. Let it be, let the Microsoft decide and optimize it. So we will be clicking on this. And then backup, if you want, you can enable the backup. If you do not want, just simply say, I don't want. Okay. Review and create. So I've created this, but only thing is I need to change the code. I don't want 5 TB. I just need 5 GB. Okay. Now I have this URL. If I want to connect from here, I should be able to. Okay. Here I need to change the tier. So how do actually I connect here? We have to first of all enable this connection. So how do I connect it? To connect it, you will be clicking on this. And this HR data, you should be able to connect to your system, just like your it is a shared drive in your personal laptop. So how do I connect? Say if I open the duplicate tab, virtual machine here, public IP, and again. Okay, here it is. And now say I want to, right now if you see that under this PC, I have only C drive. Okay. Now, suppose if I'm using the file share and I wanted to connect to this, so I'll be using something called PowerShell. And from here, I'll say that yes, I want to connect to Windows. Of course, you have a three flavors, Windows, Linux, and Mac OS. So I'm saying you connect it. So the script, this is how actually I'll be connecting to this drive. And my drive later will be Z drive. So I'm coming here on my client, on my server, pasting all this script, and I'm able to connect. If you see that, this is my data. This is like shared drive. Now, I can save my data here, and this data will be appearing here on my portal. Right now, it's not nothing. So let me just give some data there. So I save this data here. Okay. Now, if I see that again and refresh it, see, I'm able to see the file. I can just delete anything and it will be also deleted from there. Okay, it will be deleted. So that is something we are exploring. Snapshot, you can take the snapshot of this, you can backup, enable, or on this file share. Okay, this is the file share data. Then queues and all, like, if you want to create a queue, you can create a queue, but this is for your log purpose and all. One more thing that we need to know, how do we manage the storage account and what is the security associated with it? So these two are the things that we need to consider. So once it comes to security, it has a storage account. By default, it is encrypted. Okay, by default, it is encrypted. And on top of it, if you wanted to share this information with some of your colleagues or vendor partner, you can create something called shared access signature or access key. With the help of shared access key and access keys, you should be able to control the storage account. Okay. So how do we connect to shared access signature? What all the access keys? For that, we need to install something called Microsoft Azure Explorer. This is the way that to manage storage account efficiently without the admin intervention. So what we have to do, we have to install something called Microsoft Azure Storage Explorer. We'll open it, Google or Edge. Here we will be typing something called Azure Storage Explorer. Why do we use it? First of all, guys, it is a efficient way of managing our storage account. It is a tool provided by Microsoft. So here, little bit about this, and then we'll be installing it. Upload, download, manage your Azure storage blob, files, queue, and table, as well as the Azure data lake, storage entities, and manage disk. Okay. For this purpose, we will be using it. Secure, extensible, accessible, versatile, all of these features are there. So we'll say download this link. Here it is. Operating system, Windows. So it is getting downloaded here. Or it is downloading on my local PC. So I need to copy there. Let me try to copy it if I can. Oh, sorry, this is where we install it on the server. I got confused. My mistake, guys. So we are installing it on this PC only. Finish, launch. So this Storage Explorer, this is the tool usually used by the developer team to manage and play around with your storage account, because we cannot give and grant a permission on Explorer or sorry, not Explorer, portal.azure.com, and they do not feel like comfort while connecting to the portal each and every time. So this is what they will be authenticating themselves with Azure Storage Explorer. And see that, let's see how do we access it. So accessing it, you will be connecting to storage, and then you will say connect. Connect to Azure storage. So the moment I connect, it will ask me what is the processor and which account do you want to connect. So I'll say I want to connect to storage account or the service. Click OK. Now, how do you want to connect? What are the mechanism that you are going to use? Your key or SAS, shared signature, shared access signature, or account name and key. So if I say shared access signature or SAS, so I need to supply and generate the SAS URL for my storage account. And how do I generate? This is the option. Now, what is this? You can just go through quickly. I'll take some water, guys. Okay, I'm back. So you can see that SAS is a URI that grant restricted access rights to Azure storage account. Okay, now what all that you can do it with this shared access signature. This is the way to protect your storage account. Okay, and what all the services under the need you should be able to control or access it. Get all the services, blob, files, queue, and table, and allowed resource type, service, container, object, and then allowed permission. What all you can do and can't do it. So depending on to whom you're granting the permission, You can see that I want to give only read permission. I do not want to give the write permission, or else I want to give every sort of permission. So I can just enable all this checkbox. Here it is. Then you wanted to maintain any sort of versioning control, allow blob index permissions. And the most important part is you are creating a kind of set expiry date and ending date, starting and ending date. And also you can specify from where client or the user should be able to connect to this storage account from the IP address. Okay. So once you enable all this and click on generate SaaS key. So here we will be getting all these URLs. So for example, in this case, I am the shared. How do I want to connect? Using the SaaS URL. So click next. So I would be giving what is my SaaS URL. So it is like, this is my SaaS URL, blob one. I can just copy and paste it here. And you can see now, this is prompting me to connect. And I connected. See, under this again, we are getting all this. So under file, we have that file, the one which we created. Under the container, again, we will be having the container, what we created. And of course, we can do the same operations like deleting, creating, uploading, as long as I should be having the permissions or the privilege to perform this exercise. Clear, guys? All clear? Any doubt? So now we can also delete here. We can delete, we can upload. This will be like, again, same stuff. We can delete from here. We can upload every sort of things we can perform. Now, from the developer prospect, this is going to be a cakewalk for them. Once, or, you can assign to any project team, any vendor, and ask them to upload the data. Okay. So this is a very good tool to explore, which is called Microsoft Azure Storage Explorer. All right. Now, under that, we also have something called access keys. Now, this access key is combination of your assets. So if suppose sometime you feel, okay, there seems to be some compromise, okay, there seems to be some phishing attack happening, whatever, the reason could be. What you can do, you can rotate the key. Okay, key one to key one to key two, or key two to key one, just to make an attacker confused. And then we have the encryption. By default, Microsoft encrypt. See, storage service encryption. This is the service which actually encrypt the data at rest. Okay, and encryption type here we have a Microsoft managed key and customer managed key. Microsoft managed key, it means Microsoft will manage it. But at the same time, if you are managing some PKI infrastructure and you want to enable that in Azure portal, you are very much welcome to do. Finally, security is something called Microsoft Defender for Cloud. This is like paid service, but this help you to, monitor and configure sensitive data threat in detection. Any uploading, anyone wanted to or try to upload any kind of malware, antivirus, so those things also it will protect. Then we have some redundancy under data management, like how the local redundancy will work, and we wanted to change it. At the time of creation, we have chosen LRS, but if we want to change it, we can change it from here. Data protection, this is my data protection. These are the different options that I have chosen. If I do not want, I can disable it, save it. Object replication, what all the replication is happening, you can create a replica rule. For example, here, what is the replica, where it will go, what all the pair it will create, every sort of replication topology you can create it under this. Then you also have something called lifecycle management. What is the lifecycle management? Is offer a rich rule-based policy for generating storage account. So if I just create rule anything and say that okay, this rule will be applicable across the subscription or across the tenant, you can control this behavior. Similarly, we have the monitoring section, so we will not touch the monitoring section for now. And then we have something called Azure search. You can find any sort of search here from the storage account. Okay. So replication topology we have completed, blob storage, container storage security, shared storage encryption. Okay, now some of the best practices for the storage. Always use HTTPS, not to use HTTP, because HTTP is not more secure. Validate data using the SAS. Don't assume SA is always correct choice. Use storage analytic to monitor the application. So under that, we will be monitoring it. And then use the near-term expiry date on this. So these are the some of the best practices. Now there is something called Azure File Sync. Now Azure File Sync, why do we use it? What is the benefit of using this Azure File Sync? Usually what we use the Azure File Deployment is to lift and shift branch offices, backup and disaster recovery, and file archiving. For that purpose, we will be using File Sync. Okay. Storage option we have already seen. Okay, one of the great example for storage is import and export service. So in what sense that we will be using import and export? Say your network bandwidth is not so good, okay? Or on the other hand, your data size is enormous. It is not in GB, it is in TB, in megabyte, and so. So if that data, if you want to upload in Azure, it is going to take a lot of times. Could be month, from week to month, right? Depending on the network bandwidth. So to overcome this challenge, Microsoft has come up with the import and export services where someone from the Microsoft team will come, collect the data, give the receipt, and then the data will go to Microsoft data center, and then data will be open, analyzed, and give it back to you. Similarly, we have the export job. When the data you are moving from the Azure to storage, that is called export job. Okay, so this is like import and export. And how do we do it? So if you just search here, import. So now it has renamed something called Azure Data Box. Okay, Azure Data Box is the renaming of this. Okay, so say I want to create a data box. So I'll be creating here. And then it is asking the transfer type, whether you want to import to Azure or you want to export from Azure. So I'm saying that import to Azure. Okay. Resource group, you can give anything. I'm giving this one. Source country, you say if I'm giving India. To destination, I want somewhere in East Asia, which is somewhere Europe, sorry, Singapore, and apply. So this is the charges. Okay, this is like physical box, data box. 30 disk preview is like 35 terabyte up to this features to 80 byte 800. So depending on what is your requirement, you will be given this data box where you will be able to copy the data from Azure to this data box and then ask the Microsoft team to upload the same in the Microsoft data center for the company. Okay. For this purpose, we will be using this import and export services. Questions, guys? Okay. So with this, I think the storage part is also completed. Okay, we will wrap up the session. And with this, I think we have completed almost, let me check. What all we have, backup we have done, identity management we have done, storage account we have done it. Okay, so we have automation, guys. Azure App Services have we completed, guys? Serverless computing, Kubernetes container. Yes, no?
No, no,
No,
sorry.
that is pending, right? Yeah, so serverless computing, monitoring, and Azure automation. So these three topics are pending. Okay, let me give you Azure serverless computing, monitoring, automation. These three part are pending, guys. Okay, so most likely in 1 week or so, we should be able to complete. These are the small topic.
You mean to say next week it will be done?
I think so, should be, or else we'll buy 1 more week. I mean, one Saturday should be sufficient. So another 3 to maximum 4 lecture is needed.
Oh, okay.
All right. Okay, guys. Thank you so much. Recording will be shared to you guys by evening. I hope so. I'll be going out, and by evening I'll be able to share the recording for today's and yesterday's. Okay. Thank you, guys. See you tomorrow. See you next week. Bye bye.
Thanks for your time. Bye.
Bye.